Good day, everybody, or good evening, or good night, wherever you are. Welcome to All Birdies, No Bogeys. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Yes, they will. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Miles away. And yet here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. The faithful friends who are dear to us gather near to us or hang out on Zoom once more. Through the years, we all will live together, if the fates allow. Just hang a shining star upon the highest bough, highest bough. And have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Through the years, we all will be together, if the famous fates allow, if they allow. Hang a shining star above the highest bough, highest bough, highest bough, highest bough. And have yourself a merry little Christmas. And have yourself a merry little Christmas. And have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
Esa-Pekka Tuppila, EPT, all the way from Finland, playing us in to ring in the holiday season. Epe, my friend, that was ridiculous in the best possible way. Thanks for joining us and kicking off the episode. How you feeling right now, my friend?
I'm doing so well, thanks, Brian, and hello to everyone else there on the screen. We have a great party today. It feels great. I have to say, we have had like 25 minutes of sunshine in the whole December in Turku area where I live.
No.
And we've had about 30,000 days of rain. So I don't have any Christmas thoughts when I drive with my car, when I walk outside. I don't have any of it. But now that we are here, we have the Christmas theme going on. Now I'm starting to feel it. So thank you for inviting me. This is great. I'm feeling great.
I'm feeling the holiday spirit as well. And before we kick it to the 2 players of the year that we have joining us to kick off the Christmas special, I want to ask you, you were in the booth all year. You called all of the European events, essentially. Me and you got to call some events together. How is your 2025 from your sliver of the disc golf world?
It was epic. I don't quite have thoughts to come up with any other words or adjective. I just don't know. It was superb. All the events in different countries, all the hype around disc golf, the Estonian major, and straight there from there to Finland for the Worlds. It was outstanding. I don't have any any other feelings how to describe that. It was spectacular.
Well, I want to ask you more specifically about commentary while we have you here for the intro. How did you feel like you improved as a commentator this year? What areas do you feel like you made the most strides in?
Well, from the first day ever in the booth, I was told that you can't talk too little, as far as you are not able to say too little words. So that's what I feel like I have been trying to develop for these whole 3 years, and this season I was able to succeed in that area too. So just giving the moments breathe, and we have 2 great players here, Holyn and Ganon, both of whom we saw on the coverage many times, and it was so amazing to just see them on your screen and be like waiting and waiting until saying something about the situation. So that's how I feel like the live broadcast really works out the best. You just let the moment breathe and then give everything you got after the big events happen.
Well, I'm going to kick it over to Nate Perkins now. We're going to go around the horn. Reflect briefly, Nate, on your 2025 as we sit here close to Christmas time.
Well, first, I want to touch on the performance there, because I felt like we're doing this show for the fans, but then I'm like, wait a second, this is for us too, you know. It really is the first. I mean, my wife has been playing Christmas music, but this moment was the first time I really felt it. So thanks for that, Epe. And yeah, I just always have to start with the gratitude for being able to travel so much still for disc golf. I started the year off in New Zealand, and I'm helping grow the tour down there, and it's one of my favorite countries to be in. I got a little van down there. I'm just getting to cruise around, but then to just come back, and it kind of blurs together. Brian, did we start in Florida? We started in Florida this year, and we were it's an amazing place to start, Olympus, and getting to go do another lap around the United States and then go back to Europe. I feel like Europe was actually the highlight of my year working with the Disc Golf Network, getting to be there. EPT just mentioned Estonia, getting to be there in Estonia and interview Silva and interview Calvin on that massive stage with like hundreds of thousands of people watching on the Estonian Sports Network, a lot of people watching live, and just being there in that historic park where they sang for their independence. It's really special. EPT and I actually called that event the year prior. So getting to be there on site was extra special. And then to witness Worlds unfold in Finland was also peak experience as well. Getting to interview Owen and then getting to be there and witness Gannon take it down and you interview him and just to be a part of those moments where disc golf is really, that's as good as we've ever seen it, right? Those 2 events are the leading edge for our sport, and to get to play a small role, it's amazing. And just getting to continue to build the relationships with all the players, and interviewed both of these guys, Gannon and Holland, several times, and just getting to work on that craft, just feel extra grateful, and I'm excited to see where this episode goes.
Holland, you just grabbed your first Player of the Year award. We see the Christmas background. I don't think that's actually real. I think behind that is a lot of gym equipment.
Is that Oklahoma?
I don't think that's Oklahoma. But Holland, reflect on your 2025 briefly as we get into the episode.
Yeah, I mean, 2025, I think in a lot of ways was, the best year yet. Traveled to 6 different countries outside of the US, played disc golf in 4 of them. I was down in New Zealand as well with Nate, and then getting to travel to Europe for the first time, get a win over in Europe, go on like a crazy run of top 5 finishes, and yeah, just get to have another year with the disc golf family, and going on little adventures on the off weeks and stuff. It was just super fun year. And yeah, Oklahoma definitely doesn't look like this background right now. I think it's in the 70s today and super windy. So
Gannon, you won another Player of the Year award. This is your second straight. You're joining us on the show. Might be joining us for some more of these episodes. We got 3 straight dropping 23rd today, 24th, and 25th. Nice present to the disc golf community. But for you, Gannon, you got to work on your backdrop, bud. What's going on back there?
I mean, I think Nate liked it. I thought it was.
I like the lollipop. It's like a metal lollipop. He's got it.
Part of the struggle, honestly, with my life and kind of I feel like stuff like this is I almost never have a good area to like do something, sit at a desk. Like if I had a good setup, I'd have discs all in the background right there. And I do have some out in my disc golf room, which is just over there. But this is the only desk I think we have in the house. So it's like literally the only place I can do it. So you're going to have to live with it for now.
I forgive you. I only have wrapping paper behind me, so I'm only a half step above you. And it might fall down, actually. It's just painter's tape up there. It's the worst type of tape, actually. So not maybe lower than you, frankly, backdrop-wise. But Gannon, Nate mentioned me interviewing you at the World Championships. We had the PA system problem. I had to get 2 microphones in your face.
Yeah.
It really upset me and made me sad, but I know we joked about it in China afterwards. But reflect in general. I know you got the World Championship, but how was your 2025?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really successful year. It was actually pretty crazy how similar it was to my 2024 season in terms of when I got the wins, how many wins I got, and where I got them. It was identical for the first 3/4 of the season. The only difference is I didn't finish as good as I did in 2024. But coming into the season, my only goal is to get the World Championship mainly, and so that's what I was able to do. It was a really tough battle, and had to stick it out to the end and really just kind of will it in there. So that was my main goal coming into this season. Obviously, had a couple of pretty cool things like tying the ratings record was awesome. And I think one of my main goals coming in every season is give myself as many chances as I can to win. And I had, I think, more than double the amount of podiums than the next person. So if I wasn't winning the tournament, I was always right there battling for the win. And there's a ton of tournaments this year where I came up just barely short. So although I did have less wins than I did the year prior, it felt almost as successful, and I got the world, so that was awesome. And I, like you said, got to travel all the way to China with you, Brian, and that was a crazy experience in itself. So just going around the globe playing disc golf is something I could have never imagined, and so thankful to be doing that as my job.
And Esa-Pekka, one day we'll get you to make the trip overseas to the United States. We'll have to call something right in front of this wrapping paper one of these days. I'm hoping in my Charlotte studio. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, which is an evolution of form, again, we did it with Paul McBeth. We got Holland and Gannon some clips that they're going to analyze, talk about their evolution as throwers. Esa-Pekka, I'm going to give you the option. Do you want to sit and stay as a fly on the wall? Do you have any final words? What is your choice in this moment in time?
Well, I think you guys have a best seat possible to question these fine players and take their reviews of their forms and how they have developed their skills during this season. I might just leave you off with another tune, and my music is some small way to give back to the community. It's so great to be part of this whole thing. It has been for the past 3 years. And I just hope we get into that studio, Brian, of yours, and you are not allowed to take that wallpaper off there. That will stay there for the rest of the next seasons to come.
Strongest painter's tape of all time. Well, hey, if you want to play us out, so be it. If you're going to twist my arm, go ahead. I can't wait.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so I'll leave you with another tune and have a great episode there. Have a great form reviews coming up. Thanks again for the invitation, and we'll see you again.
Someday at Christmas, men won't be boys, playing with bombs like kids play with toys. One warm December, our hearts will see a world where men are free. Someday at Christmas, there'll be no wars, when we have learned what Christmas is for, when we have found what life's really worth, there will be peace on earth. Someday all our dreams will come to be, someday in a world where men are free. Maybe not in time for you and for me, but someday at Christmas time. Someday at Christmas, there'll be no tears. All men are equal and all men have fears. One shiny moment, one prayer away from our world, from our world today. Someday at Christmas, man will not fail. Hate will be gone and love will prevail. Someday anew, a world we can start. We hope in every heart. Someday at Christmas time, someday at Christmas time.
Hey, Esa-Pekka Tupola, all the way from Turku, Finland. My friend, thank you so much. Cannot wait to see you out there on DGN next year. Any last words for the people?
Thanks again for the invitation, guys. It has been an amazing year, and have a great episode, and have a great and beautiful Christmas, everybody there back at home. See you again.
Love you, man.
See you later,
Great
buddy.
job.
Okay, wow. You know, I didn't think we were going to have that. So grateful for Esa-Pekka Tupola. I've had so much fun commentating with him in the past. I'll never forget him having to leave to go play trombone while Ben Calloway's playoff went on. Career moment for both of us. Pretty funny. Thoughts, guys? Perkins, did you know he had that in the back pocket?
Yes. Yeah, I am fortunate to have spent a decent chunk of time with EPT. I was also two years ago, I was in the booth with him for I think 3 tournaments in a row, and got to go play disc with him and got to see him perform. So he crushed it today. That was great.
Gannon, you were shining your light. Was that the first time a disc golf commentator's played music for you? Don't pay any attention to that background. It's all good.
You're not looking very festive. You're like 1/8 festive.
The painter's tape. There it is.
Finally failed. I mean, man, that guy, that's a man of many talents right there. That was absolutely beautiful. I was really just in the moment feeling it. He's a very skilled guy, and what an honor to be here at the Christmas show.
Holland, thank you also for blessing us with your presence here at the Christmas special. First one we've ever done. We're going to reflect a little bit on your season as a whole, but then also your evolution as a thrower. I think we've pulled some clips from your wins this season, and I'd love for our producer, Tosi, to put them on the screen. I'd love for you to just kind of talk us through your triumphant moments in 2025.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it. Here we go. This must be the final round.
Crow call.
Yeah, this
baby.
course I feel like was just kind of built for my style, like mostly open, very forehand, backhand. And yeah, it's just like getting to pump hyzers all day. Yeah, like that was pretty sweet. Yeah, I mean, super easy tap in there. I mean, I had Silva right on my tail kind of the whole day. Throwing really good turnovers and just making all kinds of putts. So it kind of just felt like I'd had a slow start to that day, and I'd taken a big number and early on and kind of given her the lead. And so I'm kind of just working my way back, trying to keep it super simple. And I feel like this course, if you play it, if you don't make it too complicated, you can score pretty well here. Like this one, just trying to like slide one down there. And this had to have been one of my best putting performances. I felt like I threw decently, but it was really like all of those 30 footers. Like if I'd missed any one of those 30 footers, I don't think I would have ended up winning that day.
Talk about the course itself. Some people were saying, yes, this is the greatest course on the planet. I didn't hear too much from the FPO. Not to say it's a bad course. What is your thought of the FPO layout out there at Crokel?
I think the FPO layout's awesome. I think all of the shots are very doable, and you've got kind of some different options. But even, aside from just the layout, like the construction of it is so good. Like there's so many little details that you like wouldn't even think of normally, but like the way, like where they decide to have the fairway kind of start to slope, and like, if you hit your disc here, everything's fine. If you go a couple more feet, you get like some kind of weird ground action. But then also like it all fits really well.
Talk about this whole Holland. You really you kind of struggled with this one, and talk about how you overcame those struggles. And this was, I think, the biggest moment in the round right here.
Oof.
Kind of walk us back through
Definitely
what you
was.
threw off the tee to correct, and then to go on and make that.
Yeah, so I've been throwing a Raptor and had been feeling really confident with that hole, and I think I maybe didn't respect it enough when I got up there the first round. I just pulled it really wide and ended up in the middle of the water. And I find sometimes, like normally my forehand's pretty good, but sometimes it'll just kind of, I'll have like a weird one, and it's really hard for me to regain confidence in it. And I felt like that was kind of the big thing I was battling. Because I remember I forget if it was after round one or round two, I like went to the warm up area after I finished my round and was like, I need to like throw some forehands just to tell myself I can still do it. So because I know that little stretch of holes, I think that's hole maybe 13 or 14. There's like a stretch of a few holes in a row where like you have to throw a good forehand there. There's just no getting around it. And if like I don't throw a good forehand there, I got no chance. So I'd been putting well, and I told myself like just put it in bounds, and then we'll go from there. And then again, like two putts right there, or if I'm not making my stuff from edge of circle, I don't miss.
Mm-hmm.
And then yes,
Yeah, the one on
it's just,
15
there's
was
just so many
huge.
forehands on this course. Like if I'm throwing good forehands, I don't think anyone can beat me here. But if my forehand disappears, we're kind of in trouble.
I know, we're not going to talk too much about forehand when we do the form analysis later, but I know earlier in the season you were telling me that you were kind of working on some more hyzer flip sidearms, but you're throwing still a lot of flex shots. Did you feel like the fruits of that labor on the hyzer flip started to pay off? Have you used it a little bit more than the past?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's too bad we're not talking too much on the forehand form progression today, but I think it was sometime in 2024 I started getting my elbow kind of more in front of my hip, and I'd done it because my elbow was bothering me, so I did it to like kind of alleviate some pain I was having. And it ended up kind of being a huge unlock for getting a little bit more angle control and getting height control. So like I'd also struggled to throw high forehands. And so that really helped with things. And like earlier than that, when, you know, I was having issues where sometimes the forehand would just come out terrible, I kind of really narrowed in on like this angle with this stability. I don't usually mess this up. So I'm only throwing this kind of forehand, and I just kind of wasn't throwing anything else. And then as I got more comfortable with that, I expanded it a little bit. So was working on like, okay, let's do this angle, but we'll get a little bit flippier of the disc and see if we can get some straighter shots or some more pushing hyzer kind of shots. And then this year I've started expanding a little bit more and going for some more flex shots. And so I was doing that a lot this year as well. So just kind of like picking out what was really, really comfortable and then just kind of gradually expanding that, you know, as I.
On the same topic, I know again with Gannon, we're going backhand specific. What about your forehand? I know for a while you said flex was like the future. I know, but you've kind of expanded your shot arsenal as well. What's your forehand evolution kind of look like?
Yeah, so I definitely started off with a little more flex. I never really played with shaping lines when I would throw forehand specifically. And I love throwing my favorite shot with the forehand was always like a straight to overstable disc flat. And I would play like that kind of stall shot that would go out and then dump. And you know, it was really good. It's really consistent. It's always been consistent for me. But and a lot of it was when I joined Discmania because I got access to a lot of new discs. And so when I had like a DD3, I started actually throwing like a DD3, which is more of like a neutral driver. And I was actually throwing it on a hyzer, getting it to push, flip up maybe just a tiny bit, sometimes to flat, and then I get a little more ride out of it. So I was able to throw further forehands, and that kind of just naturally generated me giving me more angles and more control when it come to like shaping lines and stuff. So you know, slowly I got better at throwing, you know, like putter straight forehands or like scramble shots. I've always had a really good like scrambly forehand, but I think just in general off the tee, I just had a little more confidence. You know, just having more distance in general, you can just throw a more overstable disc. And obviously, I worked on my form a little bit with forehand, probably not as much as my backhand, but forehand's kind of a weird one. I feel like because I mean, there's definitely good forehand form, but I also feel like it's a lot field based. Where backhand, like it's definitely more important to have good form, but forehand, there's so many different forms that work, and a lot of people get to different positions in the pockets and stuff like that, and they all make them work. So, but yeah, I think with my forehand progressing, it's just like saved me a couple strokes around, which matters a lot.
Can you show us
Going back,
your grip real quick, Gannon?
Yeah.
I feel like there's like there's a couple different paradigms, right? Like Scott Stokely is always talking about like throwing like from this angle with your wrist, and I think that a few people like are a little bit more flat with their
Yeah,
wrist like
I'm
that, with
pretty
their
flat
palm
with
kind of
it.
up.
So the one thing I focus on when I throw a forehand grip is really pinching my middle, my pointer finger, my thumb together, like pretty much like that. And it's a little bit overlapped. And I pretty much put no pressure into the rim at all. It's all straight into the flight plate. And so all of my pressure is a pinch. I'm not like digging my fingers into the rim like that. When I do that, I lose all of my accuracy. And I also lose a lot of spin because it has a harder time pivoting. Where if I'm kind
Wow.
of just pinching it here, I get that little bit of like a pivot. And so last
Sure.
second you see it like lags back there and it'll get that little more snap on the throw. So it allows me to throw any disc. I can throw flippy mids, overstable. I can throw fairway drivers. I've thrown some pretty nasty, like really flippy fairway driver scramble shots before when I need it. And I think it's just good to be able to have that forehand. Obviously, I do certain things with my form that maybe cost me distance, but every time I go back and I'm like, accuracy is just so much more important. So for me, with the little pinch grip, I feel like I have more connection with the disc, and I am pretty like flat upright. I'm not really turning my wrist sideways, and my forehand, I think more about like popping my fingers like that rather than following through. So I
Wow.
definitely have a bit more of a unique forehand grip and
Yeah.
than most people.
First time I've really heard about someone not putting a lot of pressure into the rim there. And real quick, actually, I wanted to ask you about Tipton's because I know you spent a lot of time with him. Is he also in that same light pinching, or is he going more into the rim? Do you know?
Yeah, he definitely presses like a little more like into the rim, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's more of like I feel like the tips of his fingers. I know like Barsby kind of does that too, and some people's like hands can't even get into that position. but he keeps it real close by his ear, kind of like a football toss, and he never really has that big reach back. But even on his short throws, he gets that lag where he goes here, and then as his elbow comes forward, the disc actually makes its way back. It's a little hard to see in this frame, but it really creates that lag where some players start with the forehand already behind them and then come through. So there's a couple different ways, but Sully has the best forehand on tour, in my opinion, in terms of all around, skill set. I think players can, beat him score wise if they played forehand only, but in terms of like when he needs a shot or his zone approaches are out of this world where he just can pretty much hit metal from 200 every single time, which is crazy. But he's pretty much a forehand only player. I mean, he has a backhand, but he climbed from like 45th in the world to like top 10 in 1 year, throwing pretty much forehand only. I mean, he goes forehand on typically 16 of 18 tees, I'd say.
Holland, when he was talking about his forehand grip, you kind of went, "Oh, I mean, that was the first time I've really heard something like
Never
that.
Heard it. Never heard it.
What was your reaction to that? And also, I'd love for you to kind of talk about how you hold your forehands as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, same as you guys. I've never heard of someone gripping it like that, unless it's like something like more like a putter or something more understable. But it just goes to show like there's just different ways to do things. But yeah, I mean, I would say my grip's kind of the more traditional, like pressing it into the rim, just like that. Like I have pretty straight fingers. I also have like my thumbs kind of double jointed. And so I don't like a lot of people kind of tuck it way far back into their palm like that, but I keep mine a little bit more forward and then my thumb lays on it. Kind of weird. And honestly, I think a lot of my forehand mechanics come over from volleyball because once I started kind of treating it like I'm hitting a volleyball, like because the volleyball's up here and the forehand's just down here, that really helped. And then kind of smoothing things out and getting rid of some extraneous motion. Like I used to really like get the elbow back and kind of like pop it through. But I would say I do kind of more of like a more typical reach back now. But especially early on, I was really influenced by Scott Stokely. So I have a lot of kind of his, kind of my version of his, recommendations in my.
Well, moving on with just again reflecting on some top moments from your season, Holland. I want to talk about Open at Austin next. I know you have a close relationship with Austin and Austin disc golf. Let's play some clips from that, and I want you to just talk about that event and what it meant to you to be playing the way you did out there.
Yeah, this was such a crazy event because I think I ended up taking like a +5 in round 2 on hole 18, and then it like didn't actually matter as the next day I shot a perfect back 9 over at Harvey Penick. And again, it's just Harvey Penick's just the kind of course that really plays well to my style. It's a lot of like I can take something kind of neutral and overstable and just I don't have to shape a ton of shots. There's like this hole and maybe a couple others where I have to shape something, but I can really just like stick to my strengths. And yeah, and then didn't have a great final day, but it was good enough. And then yeah, I used to live in Austin. We moved here. We moved there after from California right before I went on tour for the first time. So Circle C, like Zilker, those kind of courses were where I prepared, to go full time pro for the first time. So yeah, it meant a lot to be able to win in my home state. Unfortunately, the hat was really small. It looked a little goofy.
I remember that.
Yeah,
It's so funny, Holland. The year is so long. I can't believe that this was this year. And if I recall, I remember talking to you about your heart rate. Was that this season where you were coming down the stretch and like your heart rate was like through the roof?
So it does that every tournament round. It's crazy because when we were in New Zealand, one of the prize for the B tier I won was a Garmin watch, and like I'm wearing it right now still. And so it was interesting to watch like how my heart rate is during tournament rounds versus like practice rounds. Practice rounds, the 110s kind of tops, but in tournament rounds I'll be in the 130s like sustained the whole time. And then if stuff gets really tense, I'll get up into like the 140s. And it's like I don't necessarily feel like my heart's racing, but apparently it is.
Well, Holland, I got one more tournament, and that's the end of the year. You had a great finish. You went tour championship, match play. let's dive into the Tour Championship and just talk about at this point in the season, how are you physically, emotionally? It's a long year out there.
Yeah, I mean, I had such a good start to the season, and then, I missed top 5 for the first time at Worlds, which is, like, the worst possible time to finally play kinda bad. And I think just the fact that I've been playing so well and then struggled so much in Europe, kinda messed with me a little bit, so it took me a while to bounce back. And obviously, like, I missed cash for the first time since going on tour full time with at a course or at a tournament that I'd won the year before, which just felt, like, embarrassing and terrible. But I remember going into this round, I was like, it's the last one of the year. I just want to enjoy it. I'm proud of how I've done up to this point. Like I got close to winning Deglo, I got close to winning MVP. Like I proved to myself that I still have it. And I just really wanted to enjoy it. I was like, I'm on, a card with Paige and with Evelina and with Silva. I'm like, these are some of my favorite people to play with. So I really just made it a goal to like be fearless and just enjoy the final round of the season. Um, it's like every time I kind of tell myself I don't really care if I win, I just want to like enjoy my time. Like that's usually when I end up winning. I did the same thing before Kansas City. I've been putting so horribly for the weekends before, and I was like, I don't even care if I make putts. I just want to not be scared of putting. And it's like that's kind of become my new thing now. It's like, okay, how do I let go of that fear more consistently? Because that's really what lets me have my best performances. Because Ivy Hill is one of those courses. It's these more open horses with some elevation. It fits my style so well. So it's like if I'm playing decently, like I should almost never lose on a course like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that shot on 12 was something
That's
special.
sick.
And I know I got to talk to you just a little bit about what it was like to get redemption on this course. But when you're playing these rounds, did the memories of Worlds come back up at all? And how were you able to move through that and play the back nine that you did, having performed the way you did at Worlds just the year before?
Yeah, during the round, I wasn't thinking about Worlds at all, but going into the weekend, I definitely needed to like face that because I knew that was going to come up. Um, I also knew like it wasn't because the course was too hard or something I couldn't handle. That wasn't why I did bad at Worlds. I literally just psyched myself out, um, and like I was just so stressed that final day I couldn't like clear it. Um, and then today, I was just like, well, I'm not going to do like if I don't. I'm okay with like not winning or whatever, but I just don't want to. I don't want to beat myself before I've even stepped on the course.
Yeah.
And I think at one point, like around maybe 10 or 11, where Silva kind of fallen off, and I'm just like had a moment where I'm just thinking like, damn, I'm battling Paige Pierce. Like this is the person that like when I first started watching, she was the dominant player, and it wasn't even close. Um, so just having that moment of like we've come this far that like Paige is my friend now, and like we're battling for the World Championships. Like I don't know, it's just enjoying the moment for what it was and not worrying too much
Mhm.
about the win. That's when the wins come. It's when you kind of let go of that need. That's when you actually get these results. So it's kind of a weird paradox there.
Well, Holland, thank you for that, by the way. We're going to transition now to Gannon. We picked 3 events out for you, Gannon. The first one is Ledgestone that I'd love for you to dive into. You had a crazy stretch of travel. You went straight from China all the way across the world, back and played an Elite Plus event in Peoria, Illinois, while he gets the clips going. Just talk to us about what you were feeling at this point in the season.
Well, on this tee pad, I was very dizzy. The entire front nine of this round, I remember just every time I go to pick up my mini, I'd stand up and I'd just be so dizzy because I was 12 hours different, 3 days ago. So that was a bit of a struggle. And this is coming right off the World Championship win, and I told myself there's literally no pressure ever again. Like there's no reason to feel pressure. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and now I'm just playing free and having fun. Obviously, I still want to do my best. That drive will never
Dangerous.
leave. That drive will never leave. But now that there's no pressure to mess up, I kind of got into a little bit of a flow state. Obviously, there's a nice little lucky break there, but I think Ledgestone was an interesting one because usually I don't play that good if I have a lot going on or if I'm traveling a lot. But my form, I remember this tournament felt so dialed in on the backhand side of things, which is so important out at the Northwoods Black course. I've always played good at Eureka. That's a course I pretty much expect to almost birdie almost every hole in the back nine, especially if there's calm conditions, which I was able to do late in the tournament here. This is the final round. But I think this course plays really well to my game. When you have to throw far placement shots in open fields, I think it just really suits my game. And then, I play really good at courses that require a lot of just stock shots. And that's kind of what this course is. There's a few high level shots, but a lot of it is just it's based on consistency. And some courses aren't like that. So I was just really trying to take advantage of that. Once again, I'm really just out here having fun. I had a really good finish to my third round, I believe, at Northwood. I think I birdied the last 5 holes or something. So I got a little close here. I took a pretty bad number on the baseball field hole, but I got into that flow state and just kind of started birdieing. And this is really the last scary hole in my opinion. Maybe the water tower hole, but this is a hole I'm just playing out there to the left because I know I can make my 35 footer. And you'll see here, I believe, yep, able to make that. And at this point, I'm kind of flowing. I think I have probably 5 strokes it looks like 5 strokes on the people on my card. And here's that forehand I was talking about. That weapon.
There's that hyzer.
Really didn't have before. That thing never really got to flat, and it pretty much landed pin high on that hole. That's a pretty far hole. So something I wasn't able to do in the past. And you can kind of see here, these are just a bunch of stock shots I'm throwing with overstable discs and placing them correctly. Even right there is right where I was trying to place it. I don't even want to test the out of bounds. And that's something I have to tell myself consistently is if you give yourself enough chances throughout a round, you're gonna get lots of birdies. And it's all about just trusting the putter, especially inside like circle's edge range, and giving yourself the best looks. So yeah.
Talk about the Eureka course. There was a time when it was the most treacherous course out there on the tour. And frankly, my opinion, I think it inspired a lot of other courses to start to change and up the ante when it came to their difficulty as well. How has this course aged, and does this course still need to be refined more to be more challenging?
I think there's a couple small tweaks. You'll see coming up here in a couple holes that the roller on 16 is a pretty much guaranteed birdie play as long as you have a decent roller game. So making something like that patho be on the right, we'll see on the next hole here. That could be something I could definitely see they could change the course. But I mean, every year we come back and this place is tighter and tighter and tighter. It's definitely a weather dependent course. I mean, there's not a ton of wind out here right now, so you're able to kind of throw it where you want to and just place the disc right in the area you're trying to land it. So but obviously still got to play well, making good putts like this, even when I don't need to. I think it's just good to build confidence when you get into that tournament setting. Here's what I'm kind of explaining. I'm literally just full sending it DD3 roller here, and you see that path is safe, so I don't even care where this lands. And about 80% of the time, I'm going to get to a position where I just have a putt for eagle that I'm just going to lay up. So it's something like that, changing to where you have to land on the left side of that path is going to make landing in that landing zone a lot tougher because it's sloping away to the left. But yeah, like I said, the consistency is just really important. You have to be able to throw these stock shots over and over again because you can spiral real quick on this course and feel like a lot is not going your way.
There was that one year that it was stroke and distance for everything. And it was ridiculous. There was a guy that took a 40 on hole 13 because
Jake.
he lost his mind.
Yeah.
Yes. He lost his mind and just kept rethrowing and taking the stroke. This course just used to give people fits. And the stroke and distance is gone. I'm sure if it was still a thing, people would still do that. But Gannon, you took it down. You're like deliriously tired at that event. But you continued on. I mean, we went to D-Glow after that. And talk about D-Glow as well. Talk about this tournament. Let's dive into it. This is where the World Championships are going to be next year. What are your thoughts on the toboggan as a tournament course?
Yeah, D-Glow historically has been my least favorite course on the tour. And they have made some really good strides in the last couple of years to improve that. So I can definitely appreciate that. But it's a course where, and this is something right here I want to explain just about how I'm playing the game. I'm going extremely aggressive on these par fours to where I almost have a jump punt on a lot of them. So that's how I've been breaking down the holes, which only pays off if you're consistently accurate at those far ranges. But the D-Glow course, you can see all this tall rough right here, and they actually cut it out a lot this year, which I know happens every couple of years. But in 2024 specifically, it was so incredibly rough where, you know, people were losing discs inside the circle, and I just don't think that should ever happen. There also is full of that tall stuff on the back nine with a lot of extremely far par threes where there's no punishment if you land on the tall stuff. It's just a par versus you can land 45 feet, miss your putt, and you get the same score as a guy who might have hit first available, landed the crap, but just had a 250-foot chip shot. So I've always kind of had a sour taste when it comes to this course, but you know, I've been able to win this tournament the last 2 years in a row. Because I think I have gotten better at going aggressive off the tee pads. And you know, I think it's a great venue for Worlds in terms of spectating. You're going to be able to get a lot of, you know, infrastructure out there. There's going to be tons of room for vendors, and fans love to watch the discs fly up and down hills. That's always been, you know, I think it was going to carry disc golf further. I mean, the woods is cool, but when you can see a disc really fly and shape a shot and watch it go far, like that's what people really love to see. So, you know, this course is fun for people to spectate, and it has grown on me a little bit in the, you know, last couple of years. And sometimes it takes stuff like this.
The one thing I hope happens is because fans can barely see the disc fly down hole one unless you're way down the hill to the left. I want them to do what European Open
The
hole one at the
screen.
Beast does. Yes, I want the catch cam connected to the monitor so people can watch the catch cam angle of the tee shot.
think they
That's
have-
my request. I think that's what they should do. Have you played Black Locust yet for the World Championships? Have you seen that course yet?
I have, and I know, I think only about like 7 or 8 of the holes are actually what they are going to be for the World Championship. We went and played this year at Diglo, just checking it out because, you know, it's going to get a first look at some things, and it definitely looks like it has potential. I think it's going to be a good complement. It's a little bit more wooded throughout most of the course. I obviously didn't play like the back 6 holes that they're working on right now, but it looked like it really fun. There was a ton of really cool par threes. I'm talking like little bit over 400 feet downhill, and you're just landing in a nice green area. And I love holes like that. So I think it's going to be a good compliment. It's going to play really well as the, you know, the second course they're going to be using. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, doesn't really matter if I don't like the place. If I play well there, that's what's going to matter most. And I can obviously take the momentum and the prior history I've had at that course into my momentum for next year.
Well, Gannon, I have a question for you about a larger, zooming out a little bit. Do you feel that you are okay, and Holland, you can answer this as well. Are the players okay making slight sacrifices in terms of the quality of golf of a course if it increases the quality of the way that our sport is portrayed and the way that the viewers on site and on the network experience the game? Or do you feel like the actual quality of the competition is the most important part when it comes to the World Championships? Gannon, I'll start with you here.
Yeah, so I think it is worth the sacrifice to have a, you know, maybe a worse course to get more people out there. I think that's the thing we're missing from disc golf. I've said it, it's a little bit of a hot take. I think we have to get out of the woods consistently if we want, you know, to grow our sport in terms of the disc golf pro tour spectating. That doesn't mean take out the woods for all the casual courses, keep all those. But in terms of spectating, getting people out there, that's all we need. We need people, people, people. So best way to do that, in my opinion, is you got to have open courses in bigger cities with more access. If that means more temp courses, more golf courses, I think that's what it's going to have to take. And I think we have good enough designers where we're not, you know, I think the days of those courses that are just horrendously bad, I think those are gone. I don't think we're ever really going to have, you know, situations where all the players hate the course so much. I don't think it's going to happen. So I don't think it's that big of a sacrifice. And for me at this point, I really just want to grow the sport. I would love to see the sport explode because I know the potential that it has.
Mm-hmm. Holland, what do you think on that take? Do you feel like the quality of the golf is more important, or are you down to sacrifice a bit for spectators and, you know, cameras?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with Dan on that. Like you got to get eyes on it, or there's no growth, right? Like the economy is based on attention and how many people are watching it. That's how you get sponsors. That's how you get ad revenue and stuff like that. But and also to Gannon's point, like there's a lot of very open courses that are spectator friendly on the tour now that are really, really good courses. I think like Glendevere's like that, Cole's like that. Olympus is like that. So there's a way to do it if you're on the right property and you get good course designers, and we have so many good ones now. I like the thing I like about Worlds though is you do still have like a more wooded course traditionally there, and you can have that kind of earlier in the tournament when you're not going to have quite the big crowds, but then on Saturday, Sunday you're finishing it on the bigger course and you can have like the big crowds. But yeah, you got to have eyes on it. I think there's probably it depends who you ask is in terms of how the players generally feel. I think most players kind of understand that you're not going to be able to play like as many tight wooded courses on tour and have spectators. I think generally it's the maybe the players who like that style suits their chances to win a little bit better tend to be the ones who really hate playing out in the open more. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of a bias there, but yeah, I agree with Gannon generally.
Well, I think this question brings us to the last reflection of last season, and that's the World Championships for you, Gannon. We went to a place where spectator disc golf is at its finest, essentially going out there to the beast. And then the addition of Tampere Disc Golf Center is just phenomenal. Look at this! Look at this view here. This is unbelievable. Gannon, just walk us through this first world title.
It's crazy. I mean, these are like rows of like 6 rows deep of people. I mean, you can't even see the grass. Like that's pretty sweet. You're almost like not even throwing around the OB, you're throwing around people, which is pretty legendary. So I mean, they do it right out there in Finland at the Beast. It's a great property, specifically if we're looking at the back nine, kind of the more open holes there, the finishing, 4-hole stretch. The property really creates a nice bowl for everyone to kind of watch from the sidelines, and it creates a stadium effect, and that's what you want. I remember hearing the chase card cheers for Niklas, and I didn't even have to guess who threw that shot because I knew who it was based off how loud the cheers were. And it was absolutely crazy playing in front of that many people. I honestly kind of zoned out. Like I didn't even like watching these videos is crazy. If you really look at every single individual person, there's so many people here, even on a hole like this in the woods. So, that's kind of my dream, my vision for disc golf moving forward is properties like this where, I do see a world where we can continuously get this many people out at a course. And, UC put a lot of work in for this event. It's like, build it and they will come. We had all the infrastructure. The event was hyped up. There was tons of advertisement, and you have to take that initiative if you want stuff like this to actually happen and go down. So it's just such an honor. And when I come into an event like this, even like European Open last year, one of the main reasons I wanted to play it is because I wanted to play in front of a huge crowd. And this is just crazy playing in front of this many people. I mean, I'm looking around the sidelines and there's about 25 crowd control people, and they each have their own 30 people they're watching, and that's just really special to see.
And really, this back stretch of golf is super varied. I mean, they say it's an open course, but I really think some of the shots they get you guys to throw, despite the open nature of the course, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially kind of that. I mean, this course finish is so scary for the player specifically, and it's really starting on this approach and then this tee shot right here for the players. This is a hole. I had 5 bogeys total for the World Championships, and 2 of them were on this hole. In the first couple rounds, I dunked it in the pond, and this one barely squeaked over. So there's that little gap you have to hit. It's scary to leave it out wide, and it's also scary to cut that corner tight inside like you kind of have to. So, you get to this hole, you have that long walk to kind of gather your thoughts and collect yourself, and you move on to where you either can throw a couple rollers or a couple like low ceiling forehands. And it really just allows for the player to pick and choose what they want to do. And it's specific. There's not really any time where you can relax. Especially, I mean, like I said, the last 4 holes, it is 100% execution based, which I think is what disc golf needs to push the level. It's those force carries like the island hole. You have to stick the island hole. There is no way around it. At some point, you're going to have to go over and stick the island hole. 17 is an incredibly tough shot. You can play the dice roll, or you can play the backhand, which is much more technical. But this hole I think is the most pivotal hole for the World Championships, in my opinion. Hopefully, you guys show this putt coming up. Okay, yeah. So this is probably about 45 feet after a terrible drive, and AB was closer. I was looking right at death. If I miss that, I'm probably going to 3-putt due to nerves because I'm at least going to circle's edge, and I make that, and AB misses his putt, so I go up 3 with 5 to play. And at that point, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I've been playing these holes consistently. We didn't show hole 15, but I stuck the island there, and 16. I've never missed the island. I've played this tournament twice now, and I still have never missed the island. So I think I have a good game plan for it. I go a nice little FT3 chip forehand into there, and um, right here, making that putt was huge. Knowing that that gets me to 44 under, because at this point, if I finish at 44, I win no matter what. Obviously, got a super crappy roll on 17, but this is it's so funny how it all kind of comes back to these little short approaches. It was just outside of my jump putt range, and if you know me, I hate these. And even right there, just a little bit outside the bullseye. This is not a gimme for a world championship, and put that in there. And once it was done, it just felt so nice to have it all over. I don't even remember the week, to be honest, because every night I went to bed stressed and just thinking about the next day. And you know, there's Matt. He's been with me, my entire disc golf pro tour career, caddying for me, and you know, one of my number one competitors, AB, Sully, my tour buddy, Ezra, putting a lot of work in there, and Nicolas, the hometown hero, is just a crazy experience. And look at all those people. That was absolutely nuts. And it's such an honor to be the person able to win that tournament. And that's what I told myself. I'm like, I don't think there's a single person out here that wants to win this more than I do. And I was trying to keep it low key, but also, I put the work in every night. I went and practice putted a lot, making sure I was prepared for this tournament, game planning. I said no to a lot of media obligations because I was like, I don't care about that. I want to win the tournament.
What a year. What a year. And I'm so grateful that all four of us got to be there, because we might not see a tournament like that for a long time. I mean, I think anytime something like that happens, people say, oh, well, that's going to up the bar. It's like, well, don't undersell UC Maresma and what he's been able to do out there. Like, it takes a mad scientist who is outrageously confident, also good at sales, also creative, also good at delegating. I mean, yeah.
Connected with the government. It's like it's hard to
I know.
even get to that level without the entire country, on board. And I'm with you, Brian. But it will push the bar. And it's like you hear all
Yes.
these tournament directors. You heard Jonathan Poole, like, I don't
Yep.
think we'll get there. And Nate Heinel's like, a lot of respect to him. He's like, we can't physically do it yet with the funds that we have here. So I'm with you, B.
All right, we're going to move on to the next chapter of this episode. I know these are pretty robust, but again, the holidays are nice and robust. You have some time. I hope you're enjoying so far. We're going to move into the form segment that we were teasing in the beginning. Both of you are super analytical with your form. You guys have been since you started playing. I want to start with you, Holland. We've pulled some clips over the course of your career as a player. Let's break down your backhand. First and foremost, when you first got into disc golf, when did the bug of trying to refine your technique really bite you?
Yeah, I got started like end of 2019. So like the tour season was just ending, and I think, yeah, we kind of spent that winter really getting deep into the Jomez stuff, like watching all of the FPO, watching all the MPO, getting to know all the players. And it was summer of 2020. COVID was in full swing, and we really had nothing else going on and not much else that we could do. But that was when I first like filmed myself with the intention of looking at my form, and then noticed, it was wildly different from what I was seeing, watching YouTube and stuff. So yeah, it was probably summer of 2020, and then really that first big project was fixing like the rounding. I had terrible rounding. Footwork is in the wrong spot. In hindsight, I was my grip wasn't great either. This clip I think was from fall, so I had been working on rounding for a little bit. We can pause maybe on the reach back. You can see what I'm talking about. Am I able to pause this?
I think it's going to be our producer, Tosi. Let's
Okay.
see.
Yeah. If we could just go like, yeah,
nice,
right
Tosi.
there. This was the big problem, right? Obviously, like the angle, you want at least 90 degrees. And when I'm, teaching women's clinics and stuff, I usually will tell them to go wider than 90 degrees, because usually we've got some anatomy in the way. So if we cut off our angle and we hit our chest, it's like way worse. So what I was trying to do is get myself to reach out, more here, so that I could actually hit the pocket and not go all the way out and around. But like the footwork is starting to look right. And I kind of spun my wheels a bunch when I started, because I started with the footwork. And I think if I were to go back, I would actually start with the grip. So like right there, like it's not bad. But I definitely had a very my thumb was kind of more forward than it is now, which caused me to throw very nose up. And something I've kind of learned more recently is a lot of times the stuff that happens later in your technique is like a compensation for stuff that's wrong early. So I think if I were to go back, I would start with let's get this grip good and let's get the nose down. And then that means because I had a problem with pulling through kind of high to low, which we'll see in later clips, get that and then start working on getting this arm out to here. Because a lot of times like you'll see people with their like I don't have a ton of offset here between my 2 feet. But a lot of times people have this like front foot kind of open, and it's because if you are rounding and you have that front foot closed off the way you're supposed to, you end up chucking it over here. So a lot of times like that footwork is a compensation for the pull through, and then the pull through is a compensation for the early on. The first big thing was rounding, and it's still to this day probably the biggest improvement. And you can see like even my leg is like sweeping out and around like that. I think ideally you want this knee to kind of cave in here and things almost like I tell people to kind of try to knock their knees together. It's like if you think that spinning, it's very slow because you've got like I've got these long legs that are kind of slowing me down. And I always compare it to like a figure skater when they want to go fast, when they want to spin fast, they bring all of their limbs in really, really tight. And so I think that's what you want to do is try to keep your legs kind of tight, and that knocking the knees together rotates your hips so much faster than thinking to like swing your hips. But yeah, that's the first clip. That was maybe like 5 months or so of really working a lot on form. And yeah, obviously still rounding, probably hitting maybe like 330 like max distance there. I think when I first looked at form, like I was able to hit 300 with pretty awful form.
It's a good start.
It's a great start.
Not too bad.
As you started to work on rounding, as we move into the next clip, how did you practice it? Was it literally just film, study, film, study, film, study? What was it?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see it well in the next clip or not, but like I wish I had known about look drills. Back, there you can kind of see I reach back with both arms. So we can reach back here. This was something I did is I would hold onto the disc with my off arm, and I would kind of reach back with both arms, and that was how I got my upper body to turn. And so you kind of want to like now we call it a coil, and I didn't have it terminology because a lot of people will think of it as just trying to reach back, and that's why you put that angle off. So I was trying to get myself to actually turn my shoulders away and create that more open angle, and that was what finally got me to like not round. If we could get a freeze frame maybe on that reach back. Yeah, here. So yeah, that angle is much better. And doing this thing with my off arm, it kind of led to some funkiness that I still have with my off arm, but it did get me to actually turn my shoulders away, and actually get the disc away from my body, and I could kind of pocket. And then, like you can see the offset in my feet, like naturally, it's a lot more here because I'm reaching out. So the reaching out in a way puts the release point like out here, whereas when I'm rounding, it's out here. So that kind of allows you to get the footwork right, actually get the hips in it. Big issue that I really had here was there's just like my shoulders and my hips, there's just zero separation. And that's where a lot of power comes from. And then also this off arm's not really doing a whole lot at this point. But we got rid of the rounding. That was the big.
And what year is this tournament clip from?
So this is 2021 OTB Open, and this is round one. They put me on the second feature card. That was sponsored by them at this point. At this point, I'm not touring full time yet. This is still like achieving this, like just working, half an hour to an hour, a few days a week after getting off of work. Yeah, 2021, really 2021.
Wow.
It was about a year later.
That's crazy.
Your throw has come, and this is a solid clip, but even just from the first video to that one, and then from that one to where you are now is a crazy, crazy jump. So continue on, continue telling the story of how you continued to grind it out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was really just trying to set aside some time every week. And this one is from 2022 Preserve. So again, about a year later. This was after I'd had a whole off season where I, between quitting my job and actually going on tour, I had the whole off season to just work on form. We could see like right off the bat before we even freeze frame, like things look just a lot smoother. I'm not reaching, I'm still reaching back a little bit with both arms just to get the shoulders to turn away, but it's just a lot less pronounced. The big issue I still have here still is this grip. And I actually did a video collab with Overthrow at some point. I think it was after this tournament. It was that Ledgestone where we kind of did some slow-mos of my form, and he kind of gave me some ideas of what to work on next. But really, like the big thing that's so much better footwork-wise is like I'm planting with the front of my foot and then like slamming the heel into the ground. So I'm actually I actually finally have like a decent brace. And that's something like I'm still working on even to this day is the brace, but having like a nice wide angle here, and I'm able to actually, still hit the power pocket. Things are just looking a lot smoother. This off arm, it's up in the air. It's even more wild now. It's funny, it's gotten like more wild. But I've got a little bit more separation here of like the hips. So like my hips are kind of this way, and then I've got the shoulders kind of like that way. So I'm getting a little bit more of that coil. But that's something that continues to improve.
This looks fantastic. This is like
this
a fan.
Preserve.
Yeah.
This was my first time ever on a lead card. It's funny when I was pulling clips for this. Every single round I pulled, I was on a card, which is kind of hilarious. Then I went back to. And yeah, that was my first time ever making a lead card. So I didn't play very well that day, but that was a super fun round. That's the 2022 form. And then this off season, switched over to Discraft. Like we pause right there. Actually, before I even start the throw, you can see my thumb position is very different. One of the things Josh had noticed when we did that collaboration together was I was still gripping. The grip was causing me to be nose up, and so something I was told very early on to get the nose down was to like pour the coffee, where you kind of like pop your wrist forward. But if you're gripping the disc wrong, it doesn't matter how much you press that wrist forward, you're not going to get the nose down. And I didn't quite get. I've changed my grip I think 2 more times since 2023, but I did manage to get the nose down a little bit. I don't have a great clip showing how like I was kind of reaching back high, and then my wrist would do like a weird thing where, yeah, you got it back on me now. So it would be like back, and then I'd be reaching back like this, and then it would kind of twist as it came through the pocket, and then I would release it nose up. And so I have a very also bent knee when I brace, which is something that I've worked on the last couple of years to try and get rid of. But like I said earlier, the stuff that happens later in your form is often a compensation for earlier. So when you're throwing nose up, you tend to reach back high, release low, and you kind of get this air bounce. But we can see here like way better separation in the hips and the shoulders. This arm is still off here, but it helps me, get my shoulders turned away. And one thing I had to work on, starting here and till later was getting this arm back in time for it to actually help me throw far. But yeah, I've got an even wider angle here on the arms. But then if you'll watch like my brace leg as I throw this, it stays very bent. I think that's because I'm still throwing kind of nose up, and so I'm bending the knee a little bit to kind of bring the nose angle back down.
Yeah, it's rare to see the bent knee. I mean, there's just a few examples of it. Paul Macbeth is one great example of a player that his brace leg is often bent, and he kind of uses that to control the speed. And I wanted to ask Holyn about the actual, act of improving that brace, what do you feel like has been the best way to feel some improvement when you go out there to the field?
Yeah, so I like to start with kind of isolating whatever it is I'm working on. So that'll be for the brace, working on feeling like that, like toe hitting the ground first and then pushing the heel in, and then that leg straightening and kind of pushing my right hip back. And like that's kind of helping to pull through. And so I was able to get a feel for that pretty well, but then actually incorporating it into my form took a lot of tries. And it was actually, I, I didn't realize at first that the bent knee was a compensation for throwing nose up, because as soon as I could get myself to throw with the bent knee or with the straighter leg, like a good brace, but then the disc would just go straight up because I was still throwing with a little bit nose up angle. And it wasn't until I went through like 2 more cycles of this, of tweaking the grip a little bit, and then trying to get the brace to be better. And like we'll probably see you'll see the improvement because I think we have the 2025 form, and it's still like slightly bent, but it is way more straight. Yeah, so this is from this year. This one's still a little bit bent, but it was changing actually to a more back-loaded grip. So at this point, earlier I had been front loading because I thought that was just the best way to do it. But then, yeah, we can take a look at this one real quick. Yeah, that one I kind of intentionally bent the knee to try and like down tempo and kind of pull the disc over and shape this shot. But if we could switch it back to my camera real quick, I'll show you all the grip change that I made. So like before in like 2022, I was kind of like, I would start it out by like kind of hanging the disc on my index finger and then pinching like that. And then I would kind of put everything back. But you know, when I hold this out, it's like, no matter how much I cock my wrist for it, it's still very nose up. And so then I switched to like still front loaded, but almost a little bit more like slanted. My fingers a little bit more slanted like that, which got the nose down a little bit. And I would say this is more like flat, but still very nose up. And I kind of just experimented a little bit and was like, well, what if I kind of let go of having to have that front loaded grip? And so now it looks more like this, where I'm still got my index finger hooked around the front, but the pinch is happening more like here on my middle finger. And what happens with that is I'm able to get the nose way more down. And because I'm able to get the nose down, then I would go to throw with my still bent knee brace, and I would just turf it. And so now because the nose angle's fixed, I can actually push the leg a little straighter, and the throw now looks like it's supposed to. So all that work to try to get a feel for the brace leg actually finally works. And you know, I thought that switching to the back loaded was going to like cost me speed or cost me spin. But I've found that, you know, even if it does, having that nose down angle is worth losing a little bit maybe on spin rate, because I think you actually gain some distance. And then you can now use this bent knee for a little bit more of speed and angle control instead of having to do it by default. So like if I'm throwing, you know, full power like hyzer, I can get more of a straight brace. And I don't know if we have the clip of it, but there's like someone took a really nice side view of my throw when we were at the Pro Tour finale. And you can see I'm throwing just like a stock hyzer off the tee, and I have like a much more straight leg there. Um, and this probably gave me maybe like 10 or 15 feet of distance, like nothing crazy, but just enough that a lot of times where, you know, in years past, I was throwing maybe a fairway driver, I was able to disc down to a mid, which is, you know, probably saved me a couple strokes here and there. Um, but yeah, that's kind of been the most recent project. And then also trying to get something I'm working on more recently is trying to get a little bit deeper into the pocket. So instead of being like, you know, here and then kind of opening up, trying to get more to like here and then opening
Yeah,
up. Because
really.
I almost think of like if you're, you know, your release point's in a spot, but you've kind of got your error rate, like your tolerance on either side. So you kind of got this cone that you're able to, like, your release point's going to be somewhere in that cone. And I think the later and the deeper of your release point kind of the smaller that cone gets. And so that's kind of been the more recent thing, is trying to get like a little bit more of like trying to like jam it into the armpit a little bit and try to get like my release point later, but then also reducing kind of that error rate to be able to hit gaps a little bit better.
Did you get that idea for the deeper pocket by chance from watching David Wiggins throw? I feel like he's always the one, even after all these years, that people point to for having like an outrageously deep pocket, even though he hasn't competed in such a long time. Where did you get that idea, and what inspired you?
I think it was like maybe I came across like a Nick Crush reel or something, because that's something that he really teaches. I don't watch a ton of form YouTube anymore, but usually in the off season I'll kind of just poke around and see what's new from the guys who think about it all the time. And yeah, that was something that he really talked about, was like trying to jam it into that armpit. And so I started messing with that last off season, and so I really focused on like, okay, let's get that grip change to get the nose down, because I suspect if I just do that, the brace thing will kind of improve on its own without me really touching it. And I think that did happen, because of later, like maybe midway through the season, I started to see some like more distance, and being able to reach a little bit lower to higher, and being able to throw higher shots, but with good nose angle. 'Cause that's the real thing with like nose angles. If the higher you want to throw your shots, the more and more nose up you're starting to get, and the more the wind and stuff's going to mess with it, and the more distance you're going to lose.
Last question I have for you, Holland, as we transition to Gannon. Have you done any launch monitors, game proof or tech disc, anything like that? And if so, like, what are your numbers right now for a solid shot?
Yeah, actually, I got my tech disc and my net out yesterday, because I'm starting to ease back into throwing. But it seems like for a backhand, for like a decent throw, like 60 miles per hour and about like 1250 or so RPM is pretty typical for backhand.
And then nose angle, are you in the deep into the negatives now? Like, what does that typically look like on a stock shot?
Not super deep into the negatives. I would say for like a pretty stock, like not super high hyzer, but like what I would probably throw in just like a wide open hole. I'm getting maybe like 2 degrees, 2 or 3 degrees of nose down. So not like a ton, but I think before I was getting 1 or 2 degrees of nose up.
Mm.
So just a small improvement, but I think significant, like noticeable, more noticeable in like how I can shape shots, and like getting the nose down made it easier to throw anhyzers. And it's made it easier to throw like on elevation, to throw downhill and stuff like that. Just having a more like default kind of nose down shot.
Perkins, do you have any final questions for Holland before we move to Gannon?
Yeah, I think the question is, mid-season, when you start getting into the season, like how much are you kind of closing the door on the analytical state of mind, or do you still kind of, go back and watch footage and make any adjustments?
Yeah, if I make changes during the season, like I try not to. I try to, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Because I don't want to be thinking about mechanics when I'm in a round. I want to just like turn that part of my brain off. So if I do make adjustments, it'll be a little bit more feel based. Because a lot of times it'll be, I'm expecting, the disc to come out here, and it's coming out earlier, it's coming out late. And so I'll like go to a field, but I won't film myself necessarily. I'll just try to like kind of feel out like, all right, let's try to get a later release. So yes, I do if I need to, but I'm not like looking at it frame by frame the way I might in the off season when I'm like actively trying to change
Cool.
something permanently.
Gotcha. Well, that's gold, Holland. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you so much, Holland. Gannon, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to go back. You started playing with a toy frisbee when you were like 8 years old or something like that. When did you start to become obsessed with trying to make your throw look a certain way?
I mean, probably within the first couple months of me playing. If you guys know, Will Schustrick was kind of my form guru that I would watch whenever I was growing up. Uh, I think that really just came from the YouTube videos that I watched from tournaments and stuff like that. So USCGC was one of them that I watched, and he was on that coverage and he won. So obviously, as a kid, like, that's the guy who wins. So And luckily, he has really good form. And so you can see in really early videos, I definitely look a more like him. And I kind of, slowly adjusted my own style, made my own form, mental cues, and stuff like that as I got better. And I've definitely my mindset has shifted on a lot of opinions that I may have had in the past. Generally, it's I'd say pretty same throughout, the majority of the basic stuff, but um, especially the last couple of years, I've made some form differences.
Well, let's jump into the first clip. This is
No.
a young Gannon
What?
Buhr. What point in disc golf was this for you?
This was, I think, one year in maybe. This was in 2015, so I started playing. I think I picked up a disc like late 2014, like toward the winter. So this I've been playing for just a little bit. This is actually like 10 minutes from my house right now, so that's pretty cool. I went to school literally on the left side of the street, which is kind of nuts. So, but yeah, you can really tell I mean, really how I'm running up with the disc, with my left hand really kind of tight to my body like that. Um, and then I stay tight, obviously get the full extension reach back, and I'm coming through real tight. Um, and even like the cadence of my footwork is very similar. That was my favorite disc. That was a Blizzard Boss because obviously it said like
Yes.
said furthest flying disc, so of course I bought it. Um, but you can see I am rounding a little bit, or I guess you can say I guess I would call it like overreaching. My angle is actually pretty good. Let me hop on this little thingy right here. So my angle is actually pretty good. It's not the best line ever, but you can kind of see it's about a 90-degree angle. But I'm throwing up here toward this way, but my reach back is pointed this way. So obviously you want to get that more toward that straight line. But that's something I struggled with so much as a kid was actually getting that reach back to be straight. And I pretty much struggled with that for probably the first 5 years of me playing.
So how quickly were you playing tournaments? I mean, how old were you in this clip here?
This is 2016, so I was 11 years old probably. I might have still been 10. Um, Actually, I think I was still 10 in this clip. It's another local course here in Des Moines. I started playing tournaments. I thought you needed a PDJ number to play a tournament, so that's what I did. I got a PDJ number, played my first tournament in June of 2015. So this is less than a year after I played my first tournament. If you pause at my reach back, one more frame, one more frame. Yes, I'm throwing this way, kind of, and look how far I'm rounded. Like that's so bad. Now the footwork's actually pretty good. You kind of see that a lot with like far throwing players is this real like offset footwork. So you can have the hips obviously rotated back to then throw forward. You can see my left knee is driving down and in, which is good. I'm throwing off the toe of my foot here, planting on the toe of my right foot. The heel's gonna drop, but you can see obviously how there would probably be some problems hitting lines and stuff like that. Now the angle control I thought was pretty solid, but because of all that stuff, I was having trouble, hitting that. But it was a pretty smooth throw, and my brace has always been pretty good. Actually, we'll talk about that because my brace pre-injury was pretty good. And we'll get to that in a couple of videos. But this is a really smooth shot.
And the way that you don't even almost come out of the brace.
Yeah.
You don't even rotate forward out of it.
Yep. So.
Oh, I know this hole.
Oh
yeah, Ewing, baby.
Ewing.
Oh.
This clip a little more grainy because I had to actually literally screen record these and pull these from my Instagram because I didn't have them in my phone anymore because I obviously had gotten new phones and stuff like that. But it's 2017, so getting a little bit older, getting not necessarily, I guess, that much bigger, but just getting a little more speed just because I've been playing so long. You see my left arm was actually off the disc when I was running up there. So I was trying some new things where my left hand wasn't even on the disc when I was running up. I'm going for a big distance line here. So typically now I'd have my left hand on the disc. But you can see the coil is really good. Like my left knee's starting to go and the foot's about to plant. I haven't quite reached full extension here, which is good because when I do, I'll probably have my foot on the ground. But the left arm is loaded, shooting down, which is good, creating some more spin and power. There we go. And you can see how my hips are pointed like pretty straight, but my upper body is still back. So there's a lot of, Holland even mentioned it, a lot of that like that separation between your hips and your shoulders. And you see that in every throwing sport to generate power, even with hockey and golf and stuff like that. So I have a lot of hypermobility. And so obviously we're having like little to no muscle here and being young, already being flexible on top of my hypermobility, I'm able to get in these positions a little bit easier. And this brace is really good. You can see how I'm
Wow.
driving my knee into the ground and really like head down. Disc came out on a good line. So at this point, I'm kind of trying to, I'm kind of figuring out my form and making slow progression.
That's a smash of a shot. That's a hard hole
That's
to get to the
huge.
green on.
Yeah, that was that was actually a pretty far shot for I mean, obviously that age. We're stepping here now in 2018. I think this is my second year on Prodigy. But you can see here, I'm really hyzer flip dominant early in my disc golf days. And a lot of people didn't know that. I pretty much started almost only hyzer flips. This is actually an F7. Be kind of starting to see I generated this slower run up. My reach back's a lot straighter. I'm able to get it down that gap. If we can stop it kind of in the reach back again. Yeah, you can see I'm like almost loading up a little bit longer, pausing a little bit. The reach back's still a little bit off. It should be maybe more toward down the gap, but it's a lot better than it was in the years past. Footwork has never been a problem. I think my footwork's always been really good. I think my footwork has actually gotten worse even till this point, which is very interesting. And like I said, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I think my hip positioning is good here. And as I pull through, you can see it just stays at a nice flat neutral angle, and it's gonna continue right down the gap. So that was 2018. I was really starting to play good here, moving up from like intermediate. Won I think like 5 or 6 intermediate tournaments in a row, and then I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna move up. Or wait, no, I have that wrong. I won 1 rec, 1 intermediate, and it was advanced that I started winning. And then I moved up to open in 2019. So I was playing pretty good here. I was shooting a couple thousand rated rounds. And I think I was probably 13-ish.
You can just see the throw clean up tremendously from the last
Mhm.
video to this video. It was
Yeah, the
so
pace.
wild. Yeah, and now you're starting to throw golf shots. It looks so much better.
Yeah. Yep. I actually picked this one for you, Brian, because I think you'd appreciate this. This is like an inside out hyzer flip. So I'm throwing like a flippy driver
Oof.
low and getting into flip up and push straight. And so playing like advanced, obviously. I believe this is 2019 now, and I could be wrong. It's 2018, 2019, but
Wow.
just really clean. That's a driver as well down this tight gap. But you can see my reach back is much straighter. My foot positioning is actually pretty straight, which isn't terrible. I mean, you see players like Isaac do that. My left arm's in a good position. It's loaded but hasn't fired, and the reach back's right down the gap where I'm aiming. So, oh, whoops, I need to do something quick. Okay, yeah. So everything's looking pretty good there, and you can see I have that exaggerated fall through. If we play the video, I really kind of lean over and make sure I fall through kind of low. Now, if you can just pause the frame right before it's about to come out of my hand, I'll explain something as well. Look how low my release point is.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm almost level with my left shoulder. But in this video, I'm like really low, kind of by my left elbow. And that was something I had a problem with. I'd really reach back kind of level with my shoulders, and almost every shot I'd kind of dip down. So I had this real like low pull through, which made it a little harder to hit certain lines. And so as I got better, I got rid of that. But everything's looking, you can kind of see everything's just naturally kind of cleaning up. And this whole time I am working on my form, taking videos, going through the process and stuff like that, and still watching Shoestrick play.
Yeah, and I almost feel like this particular shot was a function of the crazy line that you threw there too. I feel like you had to even pop the nose up a little bit to make that hyzer flip happen.
Yeah,
That was wild.
There's another video I picked just for you, Brian, because I think you'd appreciate this side angle. This is a super flippy M4, 2019 Junior Worlds, and you can really see the knee drive, the back leg, really, really driving down there. And this is like almost like a pro level shot. It looks like gets that late flip down this tight gap, and I mean you can really see my left knee drive hard down. If we can pause it right as that left knee goes in, that'd be sweet. A couple more frames. Ooh, a little too far.
The mimicry is uncanny, Gannon, with the like the
Right
angle
there.
of the wrist, like the way that Shoestrick was doing that. The mimicry is insane.
Yeah, like my brace has not even gotten close to opening, and my left knee is already driving all the way down. I have a pretty decent power pocket here. Like I said, it's a little low again, but I got that nice power pocket angle. Obviously, I call it the box, makes a 90-degree angle there, and there. So that's looking good. The left arm's already down, pulling through tight, and yeah, everything about this shot was really good. I remember this shot specifically and feeling just really good after it. But I'm pretty high up there. I'm holding the disc pretty high before I'm throwing, and then the reach back's also pretty high as well. So um, you know, really clean. You can see that right leg here. This is a position if we go back just barely, right before the right leg plants, I think, like right before the toe hits the ground. Right, one more frame maybe. Right there, you can see this leg, this and pay attention to this. You see this small angle in the leg. It kinda goes down and then it goes out, really turning that knee back and getting that foot planted well, while having a nice strong brace on this back left leg. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much it for 2019. I started playing really good. I played my first pro tournament against 30 players, and it was a C tier, but it was a really big C tier, and I averaged like 1035 at, at 14. So that was a huge win for me, and that kind of was like, okay, maybe I can actually take this far. And this is when I was winning these junior worlds by 30 strokes over even some players
Wow.
playing today. Yeah.
Well, at this point, Gannon Schustrick had already kind of retired, essentially, or at least transitioned out of playing, pro tournaments. Was there a pro that you kind of switched your attention to in regards to modeling your form after?
I think a little bit of that, like having the off arm not on the disc, was a bit of Simon. He kind of would run up sometimes with it off the disc.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know though. Like really wasn't anyone I really mimicked other than Shoestrick. I'd still go back to old Shoestrick videos. So I wouldn't even stay with what he was doing. I'd kind of stay with when he was playing his best disc golf, and that's
Yeah,
kind of what I focused on.
2013, 14.
2012 to 2015 at points it was
Mhm.
like prime Shoestrick. So that's kind of when I was watching it. Yeah.
Well, moving into 2020, I mean, COVID hit, disc golf exploded, and your career kind of began as you started to play some disc golf pro tour events. Can you kind of talk about how you continued to refine the throw, refine your game after the COVID boom?
Yeah, so this is I think April of 2020. So you can see I'm getting a little taller actually, getting a little more athletic looking. I'm 14 here as well, about to turn 15. But this is a 600-foot shot. It is a little bit downhill, but you can see the way I'm playing this hyzer flip, and I actually have a bit of a unique kind of small pump right here. Pumps a little forward right before I go into my last step in my X step. And I think I did that almost only exclusive right there on power shots. Right there, you can see it pumps, and the left arm comes off the disc a little early. But I've just my footwork is a really good rhythm right now. Planting the brace is good. Um, the left knee's driving down and in early again, getting tight with the pull through. Left arm's down. And I just feel like at this point I was really powerful. I just felt my body felt good, and I was finally starting to see myself come into like a local pro type player.
Now, were you still obsessing over filming yourself throwing at the time? Did you know actively what you were working on? Like, I don't know. I'm curious because for me, one single form change when I was younger took me like 3 years to be satisfied with. For you, how were these little victories happening when you're training?
Yeah, so a lot of it was kind of just going with the flow early on, and it's very similar. I mean, I kind of break my career into pre-COVID, post-COVID because it's kind of when I had this major injury that we're just about to get to. Because I had pre-injury and post-injury, and you're going to see a lot of differences there. So this is after I had about a month after that past video, I hurt my knee really bad. My ACL pulled a piece of bone off my tibia with it when it tore off my bone. They had to go
Oh
in.
my God.
They drilled a hole all the way through my left tibia into my knee joint, and sutured I don't even know, whatever, down through the ligament into the bone into my tibia to place it back. So I couldn't even walk for 2 months. Typically with like normal physical therapy, they have you like walking right away with a knee injury. But because it was a bone and ligament problem, I had to wait 2 months before I could even walk. So I think this is about 3.5 months post-op, and you can just see how messy the form is. I mean, there's almost no weight on the back leg. Look at I'm pushing off my heel. I've never done that before. The left knee isn't really driving down hard in. The tempo of my upper body and my arm is just like way off. If you play that again, you'll see like the upper body doesn't even do that much rotating. The arm kind of is just throwing it all like right here, and just really tentative. And this is a point in my career where I had to make a decision: am I going to play disc golf or am I quitting? And I was probably a couple more bad throws away from quitting, and I'm being dead serious. It was so frustrating. I lost over 100 feet of power. Wasn't able to throw a forehand for probably. I wasn't able to throw a forehand confidently on my leg for at least 9 months, and
Wow.
you know I was making all these strides. I hit youngest 1,000 rated player. I played with you, Brian, a couple weeks before my injury with you.
Got him.
You did get me. You did get me.
Was it a disc golf injury, Gannon? Did you hurt it on a tee pad?
No, so I had my dad bought me an electric longboard and I was really good at it. I just would love cruising around with it. But we found this way to turbo hack it to where we could get it to kind of like not read the sensors, and we got it going like way too fast. And literally about 250 feet that way out my window is where I crashed. I was almost home and I was turning right around a corner. My board was a little stiff, so it didn't turn fast enough. So I tried to just kind of like outrun it because I was going to hit a curb, like just how you kind of stomp it out. And my leg, I guess, just planted weird, popped, real loud pop. And within a minute was huge, like my knee joint. I try walking it off. Here comes my brother around the corner walking the dog. And I'm like, Griffin, I think I broke my leg. I broke my leg. And like, I'm a jokester. And he's like, yeah, you're kidding. Literally just walks right past me and goes home. And I can't move. I'm stuck on the street with literally a broken leg. So
Wow.
I had to call my mom. I was just disappointed. I cried for a week straight every single day. Mentally the toughest thing I've ever been through probably. And like I said, I just would think about everything I was missing because it was such a buildup. I was hitting all these achievements, becoming really good, hitting these milestones. And then, it was tough because 2019 we had the off season, which was about 3 or 4 months. But then COVID happened and they canceled all the disc golf pro tours up until June, pretty much, except for like I think Waco,
Kansas,
maybe Las Vegas. So literally right as they like announced they were going to have pro tours again, and I was going to join the tour, play preserve. That was like only 4 hours from my house and all this stuff, make my debut. I hurt my leg and like my whole world was gone basically. And I'd been playing Ledgestone. I had to miss that year of Ledgestone, 2020 Ledgestone. Otherwise, I'd be playing Ledgestone for I think 10 or 11 years in a row now. That's the only year I missed is because I hurt my leg. And I remember talking to my surgeon. I'm like, can I just wrap it and play? Like I was just so desperate to play. I wanted to play Blue Ribbon Pines so bad. So all this was happening, come to a big halt. And I was like, I can either let it break me down or I could try to come back and give it one more shot. And so it's what I did. Got a little healthier, and we can move into a 2021 clip if you have one. And this is when I played Waco, and I think you don't have 21. Okay, all right. Well, Brian and Nate actually commentated on a couple clips at Waco in 2021, and I was up there on Chase card. I made lead card after I think it was like 10 months after my surgery. I was able to make a pro tour lead card at 15, and that was just meant a lot to me. It was like, wow, I can't believe I'm here right now. Grinded really hard that off season, and I got rid of that dip pretty good. I had a little more of a level pull through, and the elbow wasn't as low. And so 2022 is definitely my breakout season. It was where I started getting top fives and stuff. So I love this clip. This is a high pressure shot. This is at USDGC. I'm trailing Niklas by I think 1 or 2 strokes at this point. So pause it right in my pull through. I'm gonna highlight something here. Like right in my like deep pull through, right? A couple more, one more frame probably. Okay, you can see how the bottom edge of my disc is dipping down toward the ground. So this is something that I worked on a little bit, but kind of naturally happened. And a lot of it was because I would, preset my elbow a little higher. And so naturally the edge would be down. And Holland even talked a little bit about this getting into the deep pocket, but this is a much more natural position where then by the time you come to open, then the wrist can open naturally like that. Versus if you pull through like this, tons of AMs do this. The elbow drops, which is bad because you lose all that power. Makes it almost impossible to hit any Anheuser line. And so I was really trying to dip that disc down because you can throw any angle from here. You can rip over the Annie, You can also pull through here and then open up on the hyzer, and it's a natural motion because you're like turning a key or opening a door handle. So that was something I worked on, but actually turned into a curse the next season. But this is most of these clips I pulled were ones that I felt really dialed in at. You can see I'm holding the disc with two hands, and then I'm running up, nice straight line. Left knee is still a little bit weak, but doing a lot better, obviously. And the reach back was pretty much perfect and ideal, pulling through in a nice straight line here and up toward this gap. And I really felt at the end of the 2022 season is when I finally right there. That's perfect reach back. You can see the arms at a perfect angle. It's pointed pretty much directly down the gap. Left knee's caving in nice, pointed toward the ground, which is good. The positioning's pretty solid with my feet. But the only thing I'm missing is a little bit of that knee drive. It's a little bit of a different angle. But like I was talking before in 2019, I had this like that type of an angle with my leg. And now it's almost like the opposite. So I'm like not as much reaching out with my leg, more just like planting. So I feel like, and even to this day, I do this. I haven't been able to break the habit because of the results I've been getting in tournaments. It's like, is it even worth it to try to mess with it? So that's gonna probably be it for 2022.
So then, yeah, Gannon, as we go into this, you said when we did that episode of Catch, the first episode of Catch that we ever did, you were talking to me about how you got a ton of RPMs from kind of reaching back vertical,
Right there,
but
yeah.
you lost a bunch of RPMs when you made the adjustment. Can you kind of just walk us through the quote unquote curse you got yourself into?
Yeah, so this is, you can really see it doing that thing I talked about there. The left side is dipping way down in the pull through specifically. And it, yeah, this is North Cove, one of my favorite courses, but you can see how severe that angle is. It's like on a ton of anhyzer. Um, and as I go to throw, it really opens up and coils, and I get a ton of spin on the disc. Obviously, the lower body is still pretty solid, but there you go. You can really see the angle exaggerated there. And you see double G in this position. But the problem was I had trouble. If I was off, I was really off. I'd miss my lines. I'd miss my angles. It was bad news bears. And so, this shot felt really good. This is a really dialed in shot, almost 500 feet on like a ridge, par three, one of the hardest holes that I've played to this day. OB both sides. Um, and I remember this one connecting really well. Came back, got the chase card to win at this tournament. Um, but yeah, I just had so many weeks where I was so on and so off, and my results don't lie. In my 2023, I had 3 wins. I also missed cash for the second time I ever have in my pro tour history. The first time was actually 4 months post-op at JomezPro when they had it in October one year. But I was throwing forehands off one leg at that point, only my right leg. I'd set on my right leg and whack a forehand off 1 foot. So if I had to throw one, and they'd only go about 200 feet. So yeah, but I remember I missed cash at DDO. The next week came back and won Des Moines. I'm like, I never do this. I've always been Mr. Consistent. 2022, I was the most consistent player on tour. I only had 1 win, but I was getting top 10 every single event. I had like 12 events in a row. I got top 10. And then 2023, I like lost all my consistency. I also put on about 20 pounds in that off season. I went from like 145 to like 165, and probably grew another inch. So kind of just figuring out my body. Obviously, it's a little bit different. But yeah, obviously playing good on the Pro Tour, getting wins is nice.
And then you move forward. You said you lost like 200 RPMs trying to undo that vertical position. Talk about that. I mean, you'd think losing 200 RPMs is not good because, your discs might fly differently. They might flip differently. But what did you gain from changing that and losing the spin?
Yeah, I mean, I probably lost closer to 300. I went from about 1700 to about 1350 consistently now. And so when you're dipping in that deep pocket, getting that lower part down and coiling, you're getting a lot of spin, a lot of rotation. When you pull through a lot flatter across the chest, it's more of like a pushing motion where the disc is just pivoting out of the hand. Calvin does this really well, where he doesn't even reach back all the way, and all he does is kind of a golf swing where he just rotates this body. Wrist doesn't do much, and then it comes out. So it's a lot easier to project it down the line you want. And so this is where my philosophy changed a little bit on like the deep pocket. So now I like the deep pocket. I was getting a lot of spin, throwing far, but my consistency wasn't there. And it's obviously different for everyone else. When I really started to throw really good is when I focused a mental cue on throwing off of my left shoulder. So I'll be, looking down the target. I go to reach back. And as I'm coming through, I try to meet the disc at my left shoulder, basically like this. And once it gets to this point, the arm doesn't move anymore forward. It's just rotation of the body until I get to here. When I get to here, I pop it off of my left shoulder down the line that I want. And so all I have to do is change the angle of my body if I want to throw an anhyzer or an hyzer. And so I lost spin, but I gained so much accuracy, angles, and lines. And this is when I switched to Discmania, and I had a 9-win season last year.
And you're not manually opening the wrist, Gannon? You're saying when you're meeting that left shoulder right there that you're not actually like opening up that wrist at the end of the flight, that you're just kind of pushing it out there?
Yeah, it's really just I'm almost only focused on doing this and opening my elbow. The wrist is not actually like.
And I really think, Gannon, I love that you're kind of talking like this, because it's obvious I think you might be the tallest guy on tour now, correct?
I am, yeah.
So I think from what you're talking, like, this sounds like your way of trying to take all these long levers you have and kind of limit them so you can keep the accuracy. You have plenty of speed and plenty of spin. I mean, 1350 is still very, very solid spin. So I think there's a point of diminishing returns when you have too little spin, but after a certain point, it doesn't matter that much. Calvin, like you mentioned, is down in like the 1200s. So you can always change your equipment to accommodate for that. But going into your modern form, your game as it is now, you're the best player in the world in the MPO division. Where do you feel like you are right now, and what are you proud of? What are you working on?
I'm proud of this drive right here. This was a crazy drive, and obviously, like a lot of it is my disc technology and my confidence. I started throwing. I pretty much don't throw like mids in the woods anymore. I literally only full send a driver, and you saw a little bit at the match play championship this year of just going really aggressive and having it pay off. But you can see here, probably. Let's see on the keep going a little bit. Let's go right before it leaves my hand. You can see I'm pulling in. It's coming in pretty tight, but right there, it's kind of meeting my left shoulder. Kind of meeting my left shoulder there. I'm going to leave that line there because it should match up. And yeah, it meets my left shoulder. And then you can see my body really just rotates. It doesn't really, the arm doesn't keep going. The body just rotates. And there you go. You can see it's still in my hand. It's still in my hand. My shoulders are almost pointed forward. So I'm able to get a lot of accuracy there. You see a lot of players, the disc almost comes out with their shoulders still in line with the basket, and mine are almost forward. So I do lose a little bit of distance with this, but the accuracy and the confidence that I have is all worth it. And I also started setting the disc further back while I'm running up too. When I was watching Shushik early on, I used to keep it pretty center spine, but now it's in line with my left hip or my left ribs while I'm running up. And yeah, you can just really seeing it push off that left shoulder. And that's the cue that I go back to every single time if I have problems with my form. And I am one that I think of, like, when I'm throwing this shot, I'm thinking about my form and my body position. So, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. I think it's a reason I'm so consistent is because I'm able to pick apart and have that good body awareness whenever I am doing something that's probably not the best. Yeah, there's obviously having a feel, but also having awareness of what my limbs are doing is pretty sick. Here's a flex shot.
Just this KC wide open, bad rock.
Yep, bad rock.
It's a good week for both of y'all.
Crap, I meant to send you hole 12. That's my bad. I was thinking of a different shot. This is still a good shot. It's still a decent shot. This might be one of my favorite shots of the season, though, right here.
Woo.
Driver.
Hole 15.
Ooh.
Northwood.
Gets blocked by my big back, but just absolute dart. You can see my goal is to line it up, throw it along the left side of this fairway here, flat. It's going to go right along this line and then start breaking over. Most people are throwing a mid-range about 200 feet short of where I'm at. I actually had jump putts on this hole both rounds. So just completely breaking the hole. And one thing that's very important for people to listen to right here. Let's go right as it releases, like right at the end of the release. This is something that is extremely important for scrambling, but also just your awareness on the tee pad of where gaps are at. But you can see here that the disc is going to release. The disc releases on the left side of your body. You have to know that. A lot of people throw down gaps. They line themselves up with gaps, but they line themselves up with the middle of their body. But that's not where the disc comes out. So people will throw the disc, try to throw down the middle, and they'll pull it right almost every time because your disc is on the left side of your body. So if for example, let's say this is the gap right here. Like my body is not in the center of the gap. My disc is in the center of the gap. That's where I line myself up at. So that's a super important thing for me. But you can see here, my shoulders are like pointed like this way, but they're almost forward. The disc is still in my hand. And you can see how flat and how controlled that angle of that disc is. I mean, look at my left knee. It's literally almost pointed forward. And I think that's just what gives me my accuracy in the woods when I'm throwing hard like this.
And I want to jump in and actually say, when people line up with the middle of their body, a lot of times it's because it's like Holland was saying earlier, it's a overcompensation because they have a collapsed pocket when they throw. So their release point is not on the outside of their body. When you fix your swing plane, that's when you start to actually throw from that 10 o'clock position, like you're showing here. And that's the proper way of lining up a gap. And I think alignment on the tee pad and knowing your body and your release point is so difficult as you're trying to get better and learn the game. I think it's, one of the harder things to have to do when you start getting better. But this shot is insane, Gannon. I mean, I've played this course so many times and I've never seen a shot like that. I've never even seen really someone take a decision like that. Usually, like you said, it's like a fairway driver or a mid.
Yeah, I just have I literally have the same chance of hitting that gap with a mid and a fairway driver as I do a driver. There's not like that is something that is a little different about me is I don't have a preference. I can hit any gap with any speed. I don't feel more comfortable with one specific disc. It all just matters on I pick a landing zone and whatever disc is going to go to that landing zone. Like that's how I feel confident. I don't even worry about a lot of people have trouble with throwing drivers in the woods and stuff like that. But I think that's one of my best strengths is getting far in the woods. I mean, the amount of times I had mid-range jump putts into the greens this year on wooded courses is a ton, and I got lots of strokes on people. And as long as my game was feeling good, I'd go for them. And if it wasn't, I'd play safer. So it's all about making these adjustments based on how your game's feeling and your confident level. Because I mean, there's times where my game doesn't feel confident, and I have to make decisions I don't want to make, which are maybe a lot safer. But I feel like I can still win a pro tour as long as I'm not bogeying. If I can just limit the bogeys, I can still get enough birdies. But when my game's feeling really good, especially with that yellow DD3, I'm just like in my PD, I just feel like if I'm playing my game, good mental space, I'm going to win the tournament.
Gannon, thank you so much for the storytelling and bringing us into the old videos of you being a little kid throwing the disc. It's awesome to be able to see your generation kind of grow up on camera. I know it's kind of a blessing and a curse for kids growing up, but we get to watch you grow as a thrower ever since you started. So on the other side of things, Holland, what are your reflections listening to Gannon? I mean, you guys both won Player of the Year. You guys are both at the top of your game right now. What do you pick up listening to Gannon talk about his kind of form evolution?
I think I loved listening to that. There was a lot of cool insights and some things, giving me some things to think about. I think it's just interesting, like how I feel like our starting points were so different because him being really young and really like long levered, and almost your problem was you were like too flexible and kind of having to bring it back and get a little bit more control on it. Whereas, my coming into it, I was a little bit older. I was like 24, 25 when I started playing, and I'm almost having to gain flexibility, in order to throw well. And that's what I see with a lot of women is, most of the people who are playing and playing really well are like really long limbed guys. And it's just a totally different approach and a totally different set of things you have to, work with when you're like a woman versus a really tall, lanky dude. And I think one of the reasons a lot of women are around, right, is because they're trying to reach straight back. But if you look at Gannon early, he's reaching straight back and almost overreaching straight back, but he's so flexible. He's still got that wide angle in the shoulders. Whereas most of the women that I teach, when they try to do that, they don't have that torso flexibility. It takes a long time to really develop that. especially if you're starting from like being a little bit older. I think when you start a sport as a young kid, your body kind of grows and develops in a way that is just suited really well for that sport. Like you see it with baseball pitchers, like their shoulder joint literally grows differently when they're pitching from a young age. Um, so I think that's really interesting, and it's just kind of meant that we've had to take such different approaches to get to where we're at. And it's also a thing to keep in mind, for the folks at home doing their own form journey, is like I think we both have very good approaches here that have clearly worked. But you have to kind of keep your own kind of biomechanics and what you have to work with, and kind of take ideas, and then obviously play with it yourself and find what works. Because I think like we've experimented with a lot of the same things, but kind of arrived at different conclusions just based on what our own bodies are capable of and need to do.
I agree. I'm sitting here 5'9", not 6'6", and yeah, you like have to prioritize different things. And I just posted recently, I'm trying to rehab my rotator cuff, get back on the horse, and try to like get my speed back to where I feel like it used to be before tech disc and all these launch monitors were a thing. And it's a daunting process because yeah, like as an adult, like in your 30s, there's so many things you have to gain back, like flexibility, strength, stability in your shoulder. I posted one video of me throwing tech disc, and after that session, I couldn't do tech disc again for like another week and a half. My rotator cuff was like, wow, this is not fun.
Shoot.
You have to work on this first. And I'm up for it. And I think there's a lot of people, like Holland said, that are in the same position. And I commend both of you for the hard work and the dedication to actually learning this modern disc golf shot. And I think it's so cool that our generations have kind of turned over, and this is what top professionals are doing. And yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. First day of the Christmas celebration, I think, was a roaring success.
Best
Perkins,
episode by far.
do you have anything do you have anything to say as we kind of wrap things up? I wish we could release the bloopers of this one. Actually, I'm going to make a request. We should, because this is a long episode with
The
a lot of
EP
fluff that was very
bloopers.
funny. Yes.
Yeah.
But Perkins, what do you have to say?
Man, I just am, again, I'm blown away by our sport, that we have the two best players in the world coming on here and unpacking this. I'm almost like, don't give away all the secrets, because Gannon's like, hey guys, you're missing the gap, right? Because, X, Y, Z. And it's just invaluable what you guys are unpacking for us. And the one note that I'll give that Gannon touched on just a little bit, I think is it's really important to separate the analytical versus the intuitive. Holland touched on this as well. Like in season, she's all about the feel, and that's the intuitive state of mind, right? Like Steph Curry is not like breaking down his jump shot mid-season. It's all feel at this point. And I think that there's a big difference between adjusting your form and like maximizing your form and playing golf, right? I think that we see that with some players that haven't maximized their form, and yet they're still good golfers. A good example on the FPO side is Owen Scoggins. A good example on the MPO side, James Conrad. Like you don't need to have perfect form to still become a great disc golfer. And so just keep that in mind with your journey, right? It's you can try and perfect your form all day, but also you can go out there with feel and be a great disc golfer. But this was our best episode by far, I feel. And Georgie made it on there a little bit. Look at the disappearing dog. But we've officially adopted these guys. So we were fostering them, but now we've officially adopted 2 Chihuahua mixes, and grateful to have them in our lives because they bring us a lot of love, and they're obsessed with my wife Catherine. They pretty much just live in her lap. So I'm happy for her. When I travel, she'll have some companions.
Well, for all the folks who are still listening, thank you so much. We're going to see you tomorrow for another episode of the Christmas special here on All Birdies, No Bogeys. After this is done, I'm going to remind you we're taking a week off for the first time since the show started. Enjoy the new year. We'll see you, but we'll see you for episode 2 tomorrow. And remember, your form can be really good. Your form could be perfect. But in disc golf, you still might get beat by the drunk guy with 1 disc. Good night.
Bye.